Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Bunka, an engineering mentor and drive coach for Team 5895 Petty Robotics. Welcome to episode 2 of Rebuilt Weekly Rundown, where we highlight FRC teams from around the world and the progress they are making during build season. This week, we're focusing on more refined prototyping. You're going to see some great examples of higher fidelity, call it final form prototypes that are on the cusp of being committed to and turned into final robot mechanisms. Many of the teams featured are sharing open build logs through the Open Alliance on Chief Delphi, but if your team has something you want highlighted, post in the comments or head to the fun Discord linked below and post in the FRC chat so we can check it out. Let's get to it. First up, we have Team 3467, the Wyndham Windup from Wyndham, New Hampshire. 3467 is highlighting a very impressive shooter here, and that's something I wanted to talk about first. So the one characteristic performance-wise that I think is really worth noting is their firing rate. So I don't know what their official, call it fired balls per second metric is. I'm sure we could scrub the video to get a better idea of that in numerical form, but this team is showing, an ideal output for a single stream wide or a single wide shooter. These balls, when this shooter is up to full RPM or full firing rate, are close to tangent in the air, which is about as good as you can expect from a single wide shooter. This is going to be critical, right? So everybody knows the game of Rebuilt is really a throughput or a volume game. You need to be putting as many shots on goal as you can, scoring as many points as you possibly can per second during your activation period. If you don't go with a multi-wide, call it big dumper style shooter, static shooter, maybe you're looking for a single wide shooter, maybe something with a turret, then you need to maximize the balls per second that your shooter is able to produce. And this is an excellent example from the Wyndham Windup on an ideal set of performance standards teams should be striving for if they're going to go single wide.
Before we get to our next segment, we'd like to thank the following. Oshkut is a premier metal cutting service for first teams. No minimum order, options for same-day turnaround, guaranteed lead times, and instant online quotes. Oshkut is offering first teams 50% off any future order up to $200 when you scan the QR code or go to funroboticsnetwork.com/OSHCUT. Just upload a 3D model or flat pattern to get started.
Awesome. Next up, we have Team 3847, Spectrum, representing Houston, Texas. So everybody knows Spectrum. They are a perennial contributor to the build blog wave that has taken over FRC in the past couple seasons. And we all really appreciate the documentation that they provide. It's super valuable. Right here we have Spectrum's 421 indexer. Super cool design, right? They're basically looking at indexing or singulating a large volume of game pieces in steps, right? So they go from a 4 wide volume down to a 2 wide volume, and then finally ending with a 1 wide volume or a single wide volume, which is their output, which I assume would go to a shooter of some kind, some sort of delivery system. A couple things to highlight here. Spectrum has a wide variety of wheel types. I see some mecanums in there. I see some, compliant wheels, 2-inch compliant wheels, as well as some 2-inch Omni wheels. And then the entire thing is built on a vertical rig that comes off of an active belt floor. So they're using an active belt floor to transfer their 4 wide into a 2 wide, wheel reduction, which then funnels to a single wide. Super valuable, super impressive. Couple things to keep in mind if you do decide to, follow a similar path. The way they're packaging here is pretty height heavy, or it's just tall. So if you want a similar performance, you may be looking at situations where you either need to compromise your ability to go under the trench, which would make you a bump only robot, or B, come up with a way to maybe fold this entire system up so you can go under the trench, which would add another level of complexity to your machine. So not sure which way is the right option, but definitely pros and cons to both, and something to consider. Obviously, Spectrum has an excellent answer to the singulation or the indexer challenge of the rebuilt game, which is a huge part of this build task, but there are additional packaging issues that teams would need to consider. if they decide to go this route. Awesome job from Spectrum, though. All right, next on our list is going to be Team 3255, the Super Nerds out of Escondido, California. I'm a huge fan of this team. I love the approach they take to the end game. Their climb last year in Reefscape was super simple and super impressive. And they don't disappoint here either. We're looking at, a basic linear elevator solution for a potential L1, L2, or L3 climb. It's a much simpler mechanism and a much lower lift in terms of call it overall robot complexity, in my opinion, robot integration complexity, in my opinion, compared to the more typical flip-up climbers we've seen from some other teams. This is basically a single linear elevator mechanism with some passive hooks and a roller guide wheel towards the base. Most teams would be able to implement this with relative ease using COTS parts and just a bit of basic design work. You can see here it's designed in such a way where the passive hooks engage and then lift, and then the second set of passive hooks come up and engage so that the first set can then transfer to the next rung. I do think that there are pros and cons to this as well. We get back to the topic of packaging, right? You do need to budget space and weight for this entire elevator mechanism. It does look like this example is running off of a single motor, but it does allow you to, in my opinion, make the climb mechanism a little bit more modular, a little bit more independent compared to the flip-up mechanisms you've seen from, like the Penn State 3-day build team. That is a very quick L3 climb, the flip-up mechanism, but what is sort of the drawback to that, in my opinion, is that you basically need to dedicate the development of your entire superstructure to that single mechanism to make it structurally sound and make sure the robot doesn't twist and torque and break itself. Whereas this elevator system really just needs a robust mechanical fastening method or anchoring method to the base frame, maybe a little bit more of an A-frame or a strut-related, superstructure enforcement to make it a little bit more rigid. But this is way more modular and doesn't require you to integrate it completely into all of the other superstructure systems that you're responsible for. So great solution for an endgame option from the Super Nerds.
Before we get to our next segment, we'd like to thank the following. True competitors know that every second counts. That's why Kettering University challenges you to dive in right away as a first-year student. Participating in robotics programs helps Kettering students secure a valuable co-op. Whatever your interests, Kettering gives you more space to work faster and win faster. Learn more at kettering.edu/first.
All right, our final team that we're going to highlight this week is going to be Team 111 Wildstang out of Arlington Heights, Illinois. Wildstang is a classic team that has done an excellent job over the last several years, or the last several seasons rather, of producing a very comprehensive, exceptionally useful build blog. They have impacted the landscape of specific games with their mechanisms in a great way and in a major way. You saw their entire end effector design redesigning or being re-implemented on additional robots that made it very deep in the 2023 season, as an example. So here, Wildstang is producing, in my opinion, one of the most compelling indexer prototypes and solutions that I've seen so far this season. They're using a dierotor, which we've definitely seen from other teams, but it has some integrated characteristics that make it very, very efficient and reduces or almost eliminates the possibility of jamming. So obviously they have the dierotor spinning mechanism that you can see there, which is going to be funneling game pieces from a circular hopper up through the center turret or the center tower of the mechanism itself. And at a very quick rate, I might add. But there is some clever engineering that's happening here in the base of the dierotor itself. So you can see here, they have their dierotor mechanism, which is run off of a single motor. And then off of that same motor, they have a gear interchange, which is then transferring via belt to this shaft, which then gives you your vertical rollers. And then from there is a horizontal roller as well that is being driven off of the same vertical roller shaft via 90-degree bevel gears. So what we're getting here is the full dierotor funneling mechanism, as well as an active vertical and horizontal intake roller, which is producing a very efficient transfer of game pieces from the base of the hopper up through the center tower. So very little jamming capability, as well as a very high efficiency, high throughput mechanism from Team 111 Wildstang. I'm super excited to see where they go with this next. I really hope that they commit to this for their robot, because this is an awesome piece of engineering. Well done, Wildstang. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Rebuilt Weekly Rundown. If you want to get involved, drop a comment on this video or head to the Fun Discord linked in the description and share a cool video or update from your team. We'd love to see it. Make sure you are subscribed to Fun so you do not miss future episodes. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, give the video a like. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to stay up to date on future fun videos.